So now I'm gonna do a comparison, do the exact same loop with the Cummins. Both these trucks have been warmed up. Obviously that motor would be like in a bit of a break-in, but let's see how the Cummins compares for fuel economy. I feel like it should be similar if you think about it. Both 35-inch tires, both lifted, both have some special suspension, both have similar options. I don't have fifth wheel prep on this. Now here's where some of the big differences you notice. This is where GM really stomps up on Ram for the 2500. Check out this payload, 2,341 pounds. Now, let's go look at this 2500. Now granted, this is the AEV, so this has got 200-300 pounds of extra skid plates. That's 700 pounds of more payload. Let's just briefly look at the interior. This is a beautiful interior, very premium. Now granted, we're comparing this against a Bighorn. This doesn't have a lot of features, but you can kind of get a feeling of if you're gonna not buy a diesel and you could buy something else, there you go. Definitely not as sexy as the GM is. So let's go do this loop. Gonna reset the fuel economy. Here we go. All right, tripometer here. Trip B, reset. Fuel economy, reset. Now let's see what we can do. So some people might say, what's the point of this video? Why are you trying to compare a 5-year-old Ram Bighorn to a brand new 2024 GM ZR2? Well, for me, I built this truck to have some off-road capability. That's exactly what GM also did with their new ZR2. I wanted a HD truck with 35-inch tires. Well, that's what GM has. If someone had one of these trucks and it's 5 years old and maybe they're itching to upgrade and they're not really sure they want a diesel again, maybe they didn't have a great experience. Maybe they don't drive long distance enough on the highway to justify it. Maybe they want more payload. There's all kinds of different scenarios. Maybe they don't want to spend the extra $10,000 for the Cummins. Then they might want to step back into a gas engine. Maybe it's been a while. What I've done to this truck, suspension-wise, this thing has, I'd say about $3,000 worth of rims and tires, 35-inch tires on some Raceline rims. Then it's got another, call it another, probably $2,000 in suspension work to get the Thurn fabrication front springs, the shocks, the adjustable track bar, and then just some of the other features. So here we go. I'm gonna reset this again because we did the exact same thing. All right, here we go. So more acceleration, as you can tell, lower RPMs, definitely accelerates a little easier. Kind of show you too, DPF, I'm not near a regen. It just had this happen here recently. Let's see here. Going to get on the fuel economy. Here we go, I wanna show you guys something. Kind of see the temperatures of the coolant. It's all warmed up, so shouldn't have any penalization there. Tire pressure, this is important because this will help us for fuel economy and ride comfort. So let's see how this thing does now. I feel a little bit less, feels a little tighter. I feel a little bit less slop in the steering wheel. Not that there's much slop. I mean, I'm moving the steering wheel, but the truck's also moving too. I think that independent front suspension, I think it tracks a little bit better. But what I'm really curious to see is how is this truck gonna be for fuel economy? That's gonna be the comparison. Going down the road, being that this is a Bighorn, super, super basic truck. Right off the bat, we've only got a bench seat in the front, but I've got the tow haul button. I've got the parking sensors off right now, but there's no dual climate control, no locking rear differential. This is just a super basic Cummins truck. So you can kind of see, but I will tell you, comfort-wise, it's not bad to drive. It's a very comfortable truck. That's one of the things I like about Ram trucks is I feel like they're very good at making a truck that's comfortable to go down the road. I would put road noise very similar to what either of those other trucks are, and honestly probably a little bit quieter than the 1500. Those 1500 tires were, I don't know how to explain it, but I was not overly impressed with the road noise coming from those things. And this kind of gives you a little baseline of, you got a 5th gen Ram and you want to upgrade and maybe you're wanting to try a different brand out. Let's see how this GM off-road truck, the ZR2, compares. Coming up to a stoplight here, so this is once again real world, so we have to include all this stuff. So being this is a Cummins, it doesn't have obviously a start-stop, so it's just sitting here right now chugging fuel, which is the same thing as the Gas HD. Right off the bat, now this being a pretty basic model, I don't have the power telescoping mirrors, but in the down position, I'm not a big fan of Ram's mirrors. I see why people run it in the moose position, just because the mirrors actually work functionally a lot better. But once again, this is a value truck. This is not a premium truck. So keep that in perspective when you're, trying to think about what we're doing here. So here's one of the cool things of a Cummins. I'm in 6th gear right now, I'm accelerating. It's just got so much low end torque. Literally 1100 RPMs just going down the road. It's incredible. If you like big low end torque, the Cummins is like so peaceful and chill to drive down the road. Going to the 6-speed is very interesting after just driving the new 10-speed. The acceleration, you feel much bigger changes in gear changes with the 6-speed versus the 10-speed. It's so smooth, it almost feels electric. There's pros and cons to each. There's a lot of companies out there that can build these things and make a lot of power and hold power for a long time. Can the 10-speed do that? I don't know, we'll have to see. So we're gonna go down that same road now and see how this thing rides versus the Multimatic shocks on the 1500 and the 2500. So hang tight. All right, so here we go. We're gonna do the same road. You're gonna hear more stuff jostling around in here just because I've got more junk in my truck than those brand new ones. But we'll get it to similar speed, 35, 38 miles per gallon, and just kind of see how it feels for steering, tracking, ride quality, trying to hit every little bump just to see if it jostles me around. Thurin's whole thing about this truck is it's got softer front coils to increase the comfort plus help with off-road. So I'll be curious to see, like, how is the front end feel versus that HD GM. Here's some potholes. Pretty dead, not seeing a whole lot. No, back end staying pretty in place. Little noise there, but still very, very composed. Now let's see how this feels going through this section up here. All right, let's see. Hoping we can pick up a little bit of some potholes, or maybe the rear end will step out a little bit. We can kind of see some difference. Nothing. It's very, very dead in the hands. I would say that the Multimatic suspension feels a little stiffer in the aspect of more composed. You might feel a little bit more of the bumps, but this truck is a little bit wallowy too. Like, you feel the truck kind of doing this number. So if you're looking for a more sporty feel, I think the new GM, the ZR2 or the AT4X and the GMC is probably a much better truck for the sportiness and feedback. A little bump, nothing. Rear end is very composed. It's not kicking out, which is good. Similar speeds, 36 to 38 miles per hour. That's good, that's what I wanted. I'm literally aiming the tires, middle of the tire, trying to find as much of the hard hit as possible going down this road. Here's some potholes. Truck stayed composed. Not noticing anything stiff or ridiculous in the steering, in the seat, in the feet. No, it feels really good actually. I would definitely put it as good of ride quality going through this chop as the Multimatic suspension. All right, now let's look at the steering radius now, comparing the Ram versus the GM. Very similar spot to where the HD GM was at. So I would say steering radius has got to be very, very similar. All right, going back through this chop, let's see how it is this direction. On purpose, like I said, try and aim to hit loose, rough stuff. Not a problem. No weird noises, no weird feedback. Feels very composed. I should say it feels very smooth and soft for small bump compliance. I would actually probably give the nod a little bit to this over the Multimatic, but I'd give the nod to the GM for the side-to-side body roll. The Multimatic suspension seems to really have the trucks pretty composed. Okay, we'll finish this loop up right here. And now after 3 trucks doing the same road, it's kind of neat to have a comparison between 3 different trucks. The Ram 2500 is a very interesting truck because it's almost like, after when they went to the coils in the rear, it's almost like a heavy duty 1500. It's the only truck in its class that has coil springs in the rear. So the downside is you have less payload carrying capacity, I believe, due to the coils, but it also seems to come with a little bit of ride quality. I would have to say the ride quality of what I just drove feels better on this truck than either of the other two trucks I just drove. So trying to accelerate at the same speed of acceleration, you can tell obviously with the Cummins it doesn't go over 2,000 RPMs. For perspective, I didn't catch both of these lights with either of the last two trucks, so kind of interesting because this is one more acceleration that hurts your fuel mileage. I definitely believe that both GMs with the Multimatic suspension for the for the ZR2s, they feel more composed. They seem to want to track better down the road. There's basically no steering feedback through the steering wheel, through the seat when you hit bumps. I really like that, and I can say that after having the 2023 F350 Tremor, which I love that truck. I think the GM has the best steering feedback right now. And then I'd put Ram right behind that, and then Ford is kind of last in that area. But everything's about trade-offs with all these trucks. You know, what are you willing to give up and what are you not willing to give up? For me, right now in the situation I'm in, I think this is a pretty high value truck and I'm pretty pleased with it. If I had a fleet of 20 trucks, that might be different. If I was going across country pulling a 15,000 pound toy hauler, that might be different. But right now I got a pretty good spot with this Cummins as far as where it's at. So this is a part of the video I really want to focus on and kind of show you guys right now. Look at the fuel economy right now we're getting. 25, 23, not hypermiling, no one behind me, no cruise control. But check out that average fuel economy. I'm at the exact same spot as I was with the other two trucks. No one behind, no one behind me, no one in front of me. I mean, it's like half-ton fuel economy at these speeds. It's incredible. I mean, this is why, one of the advantages why you get a diesel, because the fuel economy is so much better in a big, heavy truck like this. But does it pay off for the fuel increase in cost, all the maintenance, the price to buy the vehicle up front? To some people it does, to other people it doesn't. I think it's application by application. Some people are going to find the value of it and others don't. I could go either way. It really, to me, I think it all depends on what you buy the vehicle for. If you're MSRP on both trucks, I think probably diesel pulls ahead better in the long run, because most people don't want a gas HD truck unless they had a bad experience with heavy-duty diesel trucks with emissions in the past 5-10 years. But if people haven't had any bad experiences, you rarely get someone that says, you know, I really would like to have a gas heavy-duty truck. Rarely. If they can afford it, if they can afford the fuel, the maintenance, they appreciate the driving mannerisms of a truck like this. Deceleration noise, definitely much less road noise and tire noise than that 1500. All right, let's see how this thing handles the jostle coming in here. Very similar to the other two trucks. Nothing too crazy either way. Nothing really stood out of one being exceptionally good or exceptionally bad. This video is going to actually kind of prove the fact that my speedometer is off on this truck since I put the bigger, taller tires. The other trucks were in the 24.6 and 24.9 miles traveled. This is going to put us at about 23.5, 23.6 as soon as I get back here. So let's kind of compare and we will see where we end up at. So there we go, 23.5 miles, 18.8 miles per gallon. I'm actually going to adjust this and make that 24.6 miles just like we did the other, and then reflect that in the mile per gallon, so it'll be a little bit higher. All right, now let's go jump in the ZR2 and do the same loop. I'm going to reset my fuel economy. So we're going to go right here, reset best score. Yes. We're going to click it again and say distance. We're going to change to 25 because we're going to do a short loop, so we want the most accurate. And I'm going to reset this again, just so you can tell this is all honesty. All right, let's go see what this beast is all about. We've got the column shifter. Some people complain about the visual as far as the look. They're not a fan of these. I don't see an issue there. I don't see any blocking of anything I need on the display. Let's see what this is all about now. I can tell you right off the bat, I really like this digital gauge cluster. I think it looks awesome. I think GM's got a really nice setup. I think many of you would know that I have been partial to Ford trucks, not for any reason other than just kind of growing up more with Fords. And, you know, there are so many great options. There's Lakeshore Blue. I love that. That's probably my favorite color in the ZR2 right now. But I think GM's got the best layout right now. So we're going to pull out. The truck is in normal mode. So it's not in off-road mode. So we're going to compare both trucks in the exact same scenario. Both of these trucks have electronic lockers in the rear, and I believe both of them are open front differential. So there's pros and cons to that. For 99% of the people, an open front differential with traction management for your front wheel slip is better than having a torsion or a limited slip in the front. And I feel like I can say that because I've had 4 or 5 of each to compare. I've had Raptors with an open front differential. I've had Raptors with a torsion front differential. For day-to-day driving in the wintertime, when your truck is in 4 auto or 4 high, all it takes is a little bit of iterations on the road, and you will notice right off the bat that the truck gets a lot of torque steer with the torsion. It'll kind of pull you around the road. It almost reminds you of if you've ever driven a high horsepower front wheel drive car, you'll right away notice, all right, I kind of get what this feeling is like because you've had those type of vehicles before. And unfortunately, it's not a very comforting feeling, especially like I'll be pulling a snowmobile trailer 500 miles in the wintertime, in the ice, in the snow, and I'm constantly fighting the steering wheel because the differential is trying to pull to different differences. So in ways, I'm really glad for usability, this is open front, the 1500 is open front. And guess what? For 2023, 2024, the Ford Raptor front differential, Ford's not talking about this, but the Raptor is also an open front differential. Say we're at about 1,400 RPMs, about 55, 57 mile per hour. And you can see we're hovering at about 17, 18 miles per gallon. Now the truck's been warmed up. I let it sit for about 5 minutes. I wanted to make sure that, I give it the best shot because I also want to compare this to my Cummins and just kind of see how it is. I'm not using cruise control, so keep that in mind. I really like the heads-up display in this truck. It's super bright. This looks great. I don't have sunglasses to compare today to see how does it work with the polarization, but it does look pretty good. I can tell you right now, not to be surprised, this is pretty flat for the most part, not hypermiling, but it definitely holds, 10th gear as expected. Another thing I'm really glad to see GM did in 2023, 2024, is they got rid of the 6-speed and the 8-speed trans behind the V8s and went to the 10-speed. So now you get the performance and the fuel economy and probably arguably a more reliable transmission for long term. Really like this truck. I gotta say, I'm impressed with how quiet this truck is going down the road. I'm not hearing much road noise. There's your cool camera in the driver rear. The road noise, not bad. Now granted, this road's in pretty good shape, not like most of our Michigan roads, to kind of compare ride quality. Steering effort, tracking down the road, feels good. I'm not feeling any sort of weird oscillations or any pulls, or it feels like a 1500 to be fair. All right, let's look at the mirror comparison. The mirror, obviously, on the HD truck, it's huge, as expected. This truck's gonna have more functionality than the lighter duty versions, the 1500 little brother. I like these mirrors, the functionality of how they fold in, how they extend, and just the viewing profile of the side. This is far superior to my Ram, and honestly, I'd say it's as good, if not better, than the Ford mirror. You get the side lights, which you can turn on in your menu here, which is kind of nice. So if you're working on a trailer or outside at night and you need some functionality on the side of the truck, you have it with this thing. So one of the things I just noticed right off the bat is it just did a pretty moderate acceleration from the stoplight there, and it has good low end torque, surprisingly, for a natural aspirated V8 that is not a 7.3 liter, being a 6.6. Kind of surprised at how much low end power it had. It accelerated really nice, and I never went above 2,000 RPMs. For me, getting a gas HD truck, I have to know that it's not going to be just revving to the moon the whole time, because I just don't like that typical natural aspirated V8 gas driving experience. I like more that low end power of a diesel or an EcoBoost. So we'll see how this thing does. I mean, right now I'm doing 55 and we're getting about 1,400 RPMs. Let's go into the fuel economy. So at the moment we're going uphill, but we're getting 11 miles per gallon. It's only going to do about 15 to 20 miles today, just given the time, and out of respect to not racking up many miles in this truck for the next customer, but at least it'll give you a little bit of an indication of, what you can expect on one of these 2500s if you haven't had a chance to test drive one of these ZR2s. But so we're going downhill right now and averaging about 16 miles per gallon. No one in front of me, not using cruise control, so you can kind of gauge that a little bit. Okay, so a lot of this video in my channel is about seeing full driving mannerisms. Today we're not going to do any highway driving. I want to do more rural driving, and we're going to do about 2 miles of a smooth dirt road just to kind of see the jostling and how the 2500 feels versus the 1500. Really curious in drive quality, how the multimatics on the HD compared to the 1500. This road's not terrible. It's actually in pretty good shape, and it's dry, so we're not going to get the vehicle dirty. But the big thing is I just kind of want to throw a little bit of rough chatter into the suspension and feel the feedback into the truck. And by the way, that just came down. That needs an adjustment on the bottom glove box. But here's you got a little bit. I mean, it's actually really smooth. The road's not bad, but I'm gonna kind of drive into some of those little potholes. You don't feel it. I mean, it's pretty dead in the hands. Here we go. Here's a little more. Tracking good. These tires are great. Road noise is not bad. I don't hear it kicking up stones at all. This is it feels pretty good. I'm gonna turn around here in another half a mile or so and head back the other direction, so we'll get both directions of wind and both directions of the road. Okay, so you can kind of hear a little bit of chatter. Nothing crazy, not going crazy fast. 35. This is a 55-mile-an-hour road. We're doing 38 on, so we want to kind of be respectful here. But anyhow, you can kind of get a feel for what this thing looks like as far as chatter. I would say right now, at least with the road we're driving, this feels very much like a 1500. Not stiff or ridiculous by any means. It just opened up again, third time. So we're gonna close this again. I don't know, not slamming it too hard. I think it's pretty reasonable. Gonna do a quick turnaround. Let's head back the other direction, and we're at the halfway point of this loop, and we will see where we end up here. Acceleration wise, like I mentioned, you can drive it pretty reasonable and stay right around that 2200 RPM range. Obviously, if you tip into the throttle more, it will go higher, but pretty impressed with that. Some of the other things I like about the GM truck, I think it's pretty cool that it shows pad life and air filter life. Those are kind of nice features that not a lot of brands, show that information. So at the halfway point, approximately, we're at 13.2 miles per gallon. All right, I want to show you this flat spot here. Not hypermiling, no cruise control. Consistently 60 miles an hour, I'm about 19 to 20 miles per gallon. That's not terrible for a big gas truck on 18-inch rims, 35-inch off-road tires. I'm impressed, honestly. I think this truck in the HD heavy-duty truck value curve right now, I think it's pretty high. The 7.3 is a monster from Ford. Everybody loves it. I just wonder, though, if GM has kind of dialed in their process for the HD 6.6 over the last 10-15 years, just keep tweaking it a little bit. Maybe with the direct injection that this motor has, even though it's more sophisticated, and there's potential chance of more issues down the road with direct injection versus the port fuel that comes on the F1 or the Super Duty. But I'm wondering if this is, with that direct injection, you get a little better fuel economy. All right, we're gonna finish up the loop. We're gonna be just shy of 25 miles here. You can see how this truck rides and drives. Honestly, I'm absolutely impressed. I mean, granted, I had some pretty good roads. The roads were not terrible. The ride quality, I don't know. When I've driven a few ZR2s now, gas and diesel, and maybe it's the roads today, but this one rides and drives a lot better. The steering feels nice and tight. All right, pulling it right back in, and let's see where we ended up. So there we go. There is the grand finale. 14.2 miles per gallon over just shy of a 25-mile loop. Best. Now, granted, this is over 25 miles, so you can see an average of 13.8, 14.1, but honestly, I'm pretty impressed. Some of the other features I was gonna kind of show you, you've got your extended for your mirror here, kind of goes in and out like that. Let's see it go back in. They fold in this way. Very nice. We'll kind of compare that. There's your side lights. Another cool feature I just noticed that GMs have, I like this. I don't know why others don't do this. You can get heated back and butt, or just back, or cooled seats. And I don't know if this is cooled top or back and butt, but I like how GM allows you to do just the back or back and butt. So kind of a nice little feature that the GM has. And I've showed this in some other videos, is the 360 aerial view and some of the different features. I like how you get the steering wheel, how it turns and shows the guidelines, so you can see how much you sweep out. That's a really great feature, I think. And I wish more OEMs actually did this. And then when you drive off, you still have the front-facing camera. So just a nice little feature GM includes. Okay, so with the seatbelt off, I do want to show you guys. You do get the chime letting you know, hey, put your seatbelt on. So anyhow, just wanted to kind of show you, it's not just Ford that has this silly feature, but GM does also. All right, we're back in the Ram now. I'm curious, there we go, seatbelt unbuckled, unlocked. I wanted to see if the Ram did the same thing. So my truck's a 2019, but you can still see the idea that Ford, GM, and Ram all don't like when you have the seatbelt unbuckled. Kind of let's compare under the hood here too to the ZR2 and just kind of compare how easy it is to work on the Cummins or not. Both trucks have the hood struts. Being the diesel, this comes with 2 batteries. Purposely have not cleaned this under the hood just because I kind of want to show you guys what it looks like. You've got your air intake here that all pulls in from the front, goes over the top of the radiator, down through the bottom. There's quite a bit of room in the Cummins. It's one of the advantages versus like the Power Stroke or the Duramax as far as ease of working or maintaining. The hood opens a little differently. Both hood struts. This is kind of cool. Check that out. You got a second spot for another battery if you want to add one. I see right there, if you can see it right there, that is the breather hose for the front differential. Intake, top of the engine, totally different spot. You got the intake on this side for the 2500, but same serviceability. I believe these motors. I apologize for any confusion on that last underhood scene. I had some footage of the black ZR2 underhood and unfortunately lost it, but I did have clips from the other red ZR2 HD that I included instead. So the verdict, what do I like? I love the new ZR2. I think this is the baddest heavy-duty truck definitely General Motors has ever made, but I think it's one of the most capable off-road trucks available, definitely in the HD segment right now. I've now had the opportunity of driven both the Duramax and the gas ZR2. Both awesome options. I don't think you could lose either way. I hope you find this video helpful. Thanks for watching.